You had it. A moment ago, you had it. The story was vivid. The faces were real. Something happened. Something strange. Something that mattered. And then your alarm went off, and it was gone. You lay there for a second, trying to pull it back, but the harder you reached, the faster it dissolved, like smoke through your fingers, until there was nothing left but the faint feeling that something had been there at all. This happens to you almost every night of your life. You dream for roughly 2 hours every single time you sleep. That is 600 hours of dreaming every year. And you forget nearly all of it. Why? The answer is not simple. It is not a flaw. It is not a malfunction. What is actually happening in your brain during those vanishing moments is one of the most revealing stories in all of neuroscience. And it says something profound about what memory actually is and what your sleeping mind is really trying to do. Start with the basics. Your brain is not a passive recorder. It does not store everything that passes through it like a hard drive cataloging files. Memory is a process. It is active, selective, and deeply tied to chemistry. When something happens to you, when you see a face, hear a word, feel afraid, a cascade of signals fires across your neurons. For that experience to become a memory, it has to be encoded. It has to be consolidated. It has to be moved from short-term awareness into long-term storage. And that process requires specific neurochemicals to be present at the right time. One of the most critical is norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is sometimes called the alertness chemical. It is the thing your brain floods your body with when you feel stress or excitement. It sharpens attention. It flags experience as important. When norepinephrine is high, the things you experience are much more likely to be remembered. Here is the problem. During REM sleep, the stage of sleep where almost all of your dreaming happens, your brain almost completely shuts off norepinephrine production. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker, author of Why We Sleep, has written extensively about this. During REM sleep, the locus coeruleus, the part of your brain that produces norepinephrine, goes nearly silent. The chemical environment required for memory formation simply is not there. Your dreams are unfolding in a brain that has, by design, dimmed its own ability to record what is happening. So you dream, intensely, vividly, for hours, and the recording system is off. But that still does not explain everything, because sometimes you do remember. Sometimes you wake in the middle of the night and a dream is crystal clear. Sometimes you write one down and it stays with you for days. So the system is not completely broken. Something else is happening. This is where the role of waking up matters enormously. Research from Perrine Ruby at the Lyon Neuroscience Research Center has found that people who remember their dreams more frequently tend to have one thing in common. They wake up more often during the night. Not significantly more. Just briefly, momentarily. A few extra micro-awakenings that most people do not even consciously register. During these brief moments of wakefulness, the brain gets a window. Norepinephrine begins to return. The encoding process starts. If the dream was recent enough, if the neural patterns from that dream are still echoing through the sleeping brain, some of it gets caught. Then you fall back asleep, and by morning, only the fragments you caught in those brief windows remain. This is why the first 5 minutes after waking are so critical. The dream is not yet gone. It is fading, actively fading. Every second you spend thinking about your phone, your schedule, your morning plans is a second your brain is overwriting the fragile traces that were left behind. There is something else happening too, something deeper. Your brain during REM sleep is doing something far more important than entertainment. It is processing. It is sorting through the emotional residue of your waking life, extracting patterns, rehearsing social scenarios, and doing a kind of overnight maintenance on your emotional nervous system. Psychologist Rosalind Cartwright spent decades studying this. Her research found that people going through difficult life events, grief, divorce, depression, showed very specific dream patterns. Their dreams were not random. They were systematically working through emotional content, replaying it, recontextualizing it, slowly removing the emotional charge from painful memories without erasing the memory itself. Dreams, in this view, are not stories meant to be remembered. They are a process, a utility running in the background. What matters is not the content of the dream, not the images and the faces and the narrative, but the emotional work being done beneath it. Forgetting the dream might not be the failure. It might be the point. Think about it this way. If your brain is doing deep emotional processing during sleep, stripping the pain from difficult memories, rehearsing social responses, tuning your emotional calibration, then what would happen if you remembered all of it? You would wake up every morning carrying the full weight of every scenario your brain had just rehearsed, every fear it tested, every threat it simulated, every loss it processed. You would remember not just your life, but the maintenance work your mind had to do on your life. Researchers like Bob Stickgold at Harvard Medical School have proposed that the forgetting is protective. The emotional content of dreams needs to be processed without being re-experienced in waking life. The forgetting creates a kind of buffer. The work gets done without the memory of the work interfering with the result. There is also something happening at the level of acetylcholine. During REM sleep, the brain surges with acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter associated with the vivid, hallucinatory, emotionally charged quality of dream experience. Acetylcholine promotes the kind of loose, associative thinking that makes dreams feel so strange. Connections form between things that would never connect in waking life. A childhood home becomes a city. A stranger has your grandmother's voice. Logic does not apply. But acetylcholine and norepinephrine do not coexist well. When one is high, the other tends to be suppressed. The dreaming brain is chemically tuned for experience, not for storage. It is the opposite configuration of the brain you need to make lasting memories. Your waking brain is tuned to record. Your dreaming brain is tuned to feel. And so the dreams vanish. What is perhaps most astonishing is what this means for the small fraction of dreams you do remember. If the default is forgetting, if the entire chemistry of sleep works against retention, then the dreams that survive are the ones that broke through anyway. They were vivid enough. They were disturbing enough. They were emotionally charged enough to survive the chemical environment that was designed to erase them. The ones you remember are not typical dreams. They are the ones that pushed hard enough against the system to leave a mark. The nightmare you still think about years later. The flying dream that felt like freedom. The dream where someone you loved came back, and for a few minutes it was real. Those survived because something in their emotional intensity demanded to be remembered, even in a brain built to forget. There is something worth sitting with here. Every night you fall asleep, your brain does hours of invisible work. It sorts through your experiences. It processes your fears. It rehearses your relationships and repairs your emotional wounds.